my name is May and welcome to 5 Minute Reviews. This is a series where I review books that I want to talk about. All of these reviews are spoiler free and will only last 5 minutes, excluding the intro and outro. But first up, and the book that sparked the idea for this series, we've got Gallant by V.E Schwab. I'm sorry about my lighting today, guys. I don't know what's wrong. I can't fix it, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. I've also tied my hair up because it's annoying me, so we're doing great. So Gallant follows the story of a 16-year-old girl called Olivia Pryor, who was supposedly abandoned by her parents when she was a baby. She ends up growing up in a less than pleasant orphanage called the Maryland School for Girls. We all know from traditional book tropes that growing up in an orphanage is not the one, and definitely not in Olivia's case. Olivia is slightly different from the other girls who attend Maryland's. Firstly, she can't speak and communicates through sign language, which I think is actually a very lovely addition to the character. It brings something new that not many authors incorporate into their writing. It also gives us as readers a really interesting perspective, as we can understand what Olivia is trying to say, but nobody else can. In my opinion, it does feel like it brings you closer to the character. Secondly, she can see spirits or ghosts or ghouls, as she calls them. Personally, I love the word ghoul. I think it's a great word. They're not vengeful spirits, they're not out to harm her, but she can just see their presence, and she doesn't know why. Early in the story, she receives a letter from an uncle that she's never met, inviting her to live at his estate, Gallant. She goes to Gallant only to find her uncle dead and just a cousin and 2 servants. Something's off about it, it's a little bit spoopy, she can still see the ghouls. But could it potentially be her new home? And that's where we start the adventure. Firstly, this book cover is absolutely beautiful, and it also gives a reflection of what the book's going to be about. Reflection, get it, for anyone that's already read it. Now, I'm a big fan of V.E Schwab and I will never dispute that because I absolutely adore her. Gallant, compared to some of her other adult books, as it is actually classed as adult fiction as she's writing under V.E Schwab as opposed to Victoria Schwab, it's very, very simple. But although it's very simple, it's also very, very elegant. Her writing style will always constantly amaze me. I think she is one of the most beautiful writers, and no matter what she's writing, I always find myself absolutely enraptured. I read this in literally 2.5 days. It's not very big, but I was book trapped, and I was happy to be book trapped with Gallant here. As I said at the start, I find Olivia's character very, very interesting. She's not deaf, but she can't speak. There is an explanation for it later. But as readers, it gives us a different insight compared to all the supporting characters. But in general, what I find from V.E Schwab is that her plot lines are absolutely flawless. So many plot points that could be explained away as, oh, it's just magic. She doesn't do. You reach the end of the story and everything feels like it's tied up nicely in a little bow, and you're very content that you've read it. That's mainly what this book gave me. It made me feel very content, and although it is a bit dark and twisty and spooky, it also made me feel very comforted. It very much reminded me of an old children's book. If any of you have read The Secret Garden, it gives me that kind of feeling, but as an adult, because it's a bit darker. But it definitely stems from that old traditional writing style, which I just find absolutely charming, and it's so, so pretty. V.E Schwab gets to that point with me where I don't even care what the plot line's about. I'm just so trapped by her writing. It's so pretty. She really is one of those authors that can just transport you right into the book and you feel like you've been there for your entire life. I don't want to throw any shade here, but I am going to throw a little bit. This was the last book by our beloved Sarah J.Maas. It's a fecking behemoth. It is 791 pages of filler. It only gets exciting until the last 7 pages. Anyone else who's read those last 7 pages, let me know, because I physically screamed. Essentially, a filler book. Does it need to be this long? Absolutely not. Was I reading it just because it was Sarah J.Maas? Absolutely yes. Did I only give it 3 stars because it actually wasn't good? Also yes. And then we take V.E Schwab. Firstly, look at the size difference. V.E Schwab coming in at 307 pages of pure beauty. I'm not saying Sarah J.Maas is a bad writer. Sarah J.Maas is one of my favourite writers, in fact. But I feel like if you compare the two, which came out within I think a month of each other, Sarah J.Maas would have absolutely paced V.E Schwab for the amount of sales. Which is ridiculous because I'm not saying it's the fan base, but it's the fan base. Sarah J.Maas has an absolutely humongous following. And yeah, she absolutely deserves it. She's smashed 2 book series which are absolutely incredible. But she is in fact squashing smaller books that are in fact better, which is why my lovely little Gallant here gets a massive 5 stars. It is simple but elegantly written, and it brings back a beautiful sense of nostalgia with a dark twist. And I love V.E Schwab. If you've never read one of her books, I would highly recommend starting with The Darker Shade of Magic or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Both 5 out of 5 books. But that is it for today's video, you guys. This is hopefully a series I want to start doing on my channel, as some of you don't enjoy the very long book reviews, which I know I tend to do as I get very overexcited when talking about books. This won't be a scheduled series, just when I find a book that I think's worth talking about. So let me know down in the comments below if you are excited for this series. Whilst you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I upload new videos every single Sunday. But until then, my darling flowers, I will see you all later.